2023 is almost over, ladies and gentlemen, and I wanted to. I've been holding on to this rant for like the longest, like basically a good 2 weeks. I don't know been, why I haven't done it yet, but just know I have been holding on to this rant for a good 2 weeks. Now, this has been the 50th anniversary of hip hop. Now, there are two things that I want to talk about pertaining to this. The one is I did watch the BET Hip Hop Awards. I even watched the BET Awards, and it was cool. It was definitely the best parts. The BET Awards was a little ratchet, and the Hip Hop Awards, it was actually better than the BET Awards. It wasn't as ratchet as the, even though I'm not a fan of Ceci Red. I'm sorry. I don't see what other people see in her. I don't know why people pushing her. I don't think none of her music is good, but this isn't about Sexy Red. This is about hip hop in general, even though Sexy Red is considered a rapper. We now I have complaints about how we even was celebrating the 50 years of hip hop. I feel like it was just thrown on the wayside. It was like it could have been celebrated so much better. For one, like I feel like there could have been year-long documentaries. Now I understand BET ain't what it used to be no more. I get it. I really do get it. But at the same time, 50 years of hip hop, and we was there talking about this all year, and then they barely have anything to really show about it. Yeah, they had little things here and there, and you got your BT Hip Hop Awards, and even I have complaints about that. For one, it should have been done in New York. I understand, and this is no shade to Atlanta because Atlanta had their time in hip hop, and a lot of major artists is coming out of Atlanta, and Atlanta is an integral part of hip hop. But hip hop started in New York. Hip hop started in the Bronx, the South Bronx, pertaining. But I feel like if we're going to celebrate 50 years of hip hop, I felt like the award show or everything pertaining to it had to start in New York. I felt like the BET Hip Hop Awards should have been in New York. Uh, you could have put that anywhere in New York, or they could at least done a special just for celebrating hip hop in its 50 years. I know there was something that Fresh Prince, that Will Smith was doing with Jazzy Jeff and a bunch of other '90s artists and all the other stuff. I haven't seen that. Maybe that one's a little bit better of them celebrating 50 years of hip hop, but me personally, I feel like they could have done more. Not just the rapping part, not just the music part. You could have done something about the DJs. You could have done something about the breakdancing. You could have done something about the graffiti. You could have done something about the fashion when hip hop changed fashion. I like there's a lot to be covered into the hip hop that it could have been, in my opinion, could have been talked about, could have been explored. We could have. And I'm pretty sure. I think there is a documentary on that, and I think it was on VH1. But you could have talked about how each region of um, America has um, put their foot on into the hip hop community. You could have talked about the international hip hop scenes, like the one in Japan, and I think there's one in China. One in UK. You could have talked about the UK hip hop scene. You could have talked about the reggaeton, the hip hop scene in fucking Mexico and all that other stuff in South America. All that could have been talked about. But I feel like, and this would have been a time where everybody would have paid attention. No, and I feel like they dropped the ball. And that's been my complaint. Like this whole time, it could have been dropped the ball. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the baby. I really do. The baby's one of my favorite new artists. But I watched that, celebration. I think, and LL Cool J, I think it was for Busta Rhymes. I think the BET Awards did for Busta Rhymes. That was cool. And one for LL Cool J, and I know Rakim came out, and then LL Cool J and Rakim did their thing, But and even then, bringing out hip hop artists, that was cool. But I feel like they could have done so much more. It's just something about that is just like when I watched it, you could have done so much more. And like I understand we was in a writer's strike and maybe you couldn't done much because of the writer's strikes and people was trying to get their money, which is also kind of sad. But I just like look at it, it's like damn, this could have been done so well. But I knew I was going to get to yawning. We could have been done this so well, but now I'm just looking at it like, yeah, we done dropped the ball. And that's the one part of my rant. The other part of my rant is Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, be mindful, I am a big fan of Dr. Umar Johnson. I said this before, and I have another, like, I have the last video I was talking about when it pertained to Umar Johnson, where he was talking about celebrities. Should celebrities help the black community and all that other jargon. And my my opinion is, why are we looking at celebrities to help the community? I do not like. Umar think we should. I don't think we should. My thing is, if they want to help, let them help. But I don't want to. I don't want to force black celebrities to be activists when they don't want to be activists. Some people just want to do their jobs and then just go about their business. That doesn't mean they're corny to the white man. I've always had this. Now I've had this spiel for like the longest, and it's obviously Umar has a problem with hip hop, and a lot of people have problems with hip hop where everything is a scapegoat. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play this video to let y'all know what it's saying. I'm pretty sure some of y'all didn't see this, but to put my point across, we are going to play this video with Umar's opinion on hip hop.
Got 60 days left in 2023. Do you mean to tell me we're going to let this year-long celebration go by and nobody's going to have a serious conversation about whether hip hop has actually been a benefit or not to the black community? I haven't seen a conversation, a YouTube, a town hall meeting, a BET special. I don't see anybody talking about the ramifications, the negative impact that hip hop has had on the black community. Now, the first thing the hip hop artist is going to say, I'm only rapping what I live. But you don't live it no more. The minute you start making money, you moved out the neighborhood. So why you still rapping about drugs and death when you don't live around that no more? That means you're a hypocrite. If you're telling me you're rapping what you live, you don't live it no more. And if you're so dedicated to telling the ghetto tale, why did you move out the neighborhood? Why do you send your kids to private schools? So you live in a white neighborhood, you send your kids to white private schools, you moved out the black ghetto the minute you had enough money to do so, but yet you're telling me the reason you're still rapping about death, drugs, jail, and homicide is because that's the life you live. You don't live it no more. So for me, I'm looking at hip hop and I'm saying to myself, it is the most influential music genre in the world. 50 years, a multi-billion-dollar industry. And in 50 years, the hip hop community hasn't built a single relevant institution for the black community anywhere. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. Look, Dr. King began his career with the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. That means Dr. King had 13 years. Look at what he did in 13 years. Let's go to the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was founded in 1966. The revolutionary phase of the Black Panther Party was pretty much over with by 1971. That's 5 or 6 years. And look what the Panthers did in 5 or 6 years. Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, showed up in New York in 1916. He's deported in 1927. 11 years. Hip hop has been around for 50 years. Not a single hospital, not a single school, not a single bank, not a single supermarket, not a single distribution company. How can we call hip hop a blessing to the black community when that type of money being made off of our culture in the community doesn't benefit from it at all? So you come to the community and give out a few turkeys. You come to the community and give out a few pair of sneakers. You come to the community and you throw a couple parties. And in exchange for some damn turkeys and chickens and some sneakers, you push death and destruction on our children for a living. And we're supposed to be okay with that because you dropped off some clothes and some turkeys. It's not acceptable. Until hip hop begins to be a blessing for the black community, hip hop is an agent of white supremacy.
Yeah, that turkey.
I vehemently disagree. Now, again, I fucking Umar Johnson is my guy. Like, I don't know him personally, but Umar Johnson is my guy. But this has always been the one thing that I've always disagreed with Umar with, and it's because if we follow Malcolm X, he's always said that why are we having, y'all seen the whole thing about Malcolm X and like why are we getting celebrities to, um, represent us? In, hold on. Malcolm X. I believe this is it. Now, bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to think. I found the video. So, and I hope this doesn't hit me a copyright strike. If not, I have to edit this. But oh no, 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 no.
No,
I want y'all to realize, like, as much as I like to explain, I suck at explaining shit. So I'm going to let this video explain it. We're not going to watch the whole 5 minutes of it, but I believe I'm going to just watch it till he makes the point that I was trying to get to.
concerning the poll taken by Newsweek magazine, I think you said that this was the leaders who said that, who went with King and against Mr. Muhammad around 90%. I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. And it is an honor, actually, that they endorsed Dr. Martin Luther King and were against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's actually an honor. Now, when you say that they also, in this same Newsweek poll magazine, I think the pollster said that he went into the Negro community and asked about the Muslims. And many Negroes whom he asked said, well, I never heard of the Muslims. Who are they? You know,
this is the rank and file we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Now, when they got down to the rank and file, this was the answers that they got. This is equivalent to the situation in Kenya during the Mau Mau uprising, when many frightened whites in Kenya, Africa, would go among the Africans and ask them, what about the Mau Mau? And the African would say, I never heard of them. And the same white man who would ask the African this question and very naively believe what the African said, when he went to bed that night, he would lose his head. And usually the one who took his head was the same African who told him that afternoon he had never heard of the Mau Mau.
Except in the Newsweek poll, they used Negro interview.
Basically, I get my point. Malcolm X said, like, these are not activists. These are puppets. These are, the reason why he feels like these celebrities can be like really active is because they can be bought. Now, I've always, when Umar tells me this has always been my retort, and like because everybody's all, Umar is right, Umar is 100% right. Oh man, Umar is spitting facts, and like I said, I fucks with Umar heavy, but I've always disagreed on this, and the only reason I only disagreed on this because, and it's done been showed, celebrities can be bought, and I don't feel like the as far as hip hop goes, the artists that's not their responsibility to put up banks, to put up anything in the schools. And that's not their responsibility. My whole thing is we should have been putting people in position to do that. Now, now he mentions Marcus Garvey, he mentions the Black Panthers, and he mentions Dr. Martin Luther King, and all they've done to try to put these people in. These are activists. Martin Luther King's a pastor. All right. Black Panthers, there was a political party. Marcus Garvey, he's a leader. Those are not celebrities. Even though you could say Martin Luther King, like he was popular with everybody, but those are not celebrities. They were regular people. They're regular civilian people. Regular people like you and me. Maybe some with a little bit more standards. All right. And their whole goal was for the community. All right. Usually when you're an entertainer, your goal is to entertain. You're not unless you really 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 want to be an activist like Dick Gregory and all of them, and um Lena Horne or Harry Belafonte or most other people. A lot of these people, they're not really. How can I say this? They're not really activists. All right, they're pseudo activists. It's just like they're not really about to because as soon as their careers get on the line, they will fall back in line. Now, I done seen this happen before. Now, perfect example is when Ti was like, "We need to boycott Gucci," and a couple people did boycott Gucci, but I remember Soldier Boy was like, "Yeah, I'm not wearing Gucci no more. I'm wearing Fendi," and then and then they was like, "Is there any way you could go back to wearing Gucci?" And Soldier Boy was like, "Yeah, if they cut me a right check." Like celebrities can be bought. I remember, and this was on my last video I made about Dr. Umar, and I said, um, I mentioned the whole Young Thug interview, and he was just like, "Yo, leave it up to the police. I'm all about getting money, and, all the other stuff." Do you really want someone like that leading the charge? He's on a RICO case right now. Now, as far as rap being hip hop being destruction to the black community, and a lot of old heads say that. This is what also bothers me is because it's just like hip hop has been a proverbial scapegoat, even for for the black people. It's just like who do we blame? We blame the hip hop music, where but last time I checked, gangs been out before hip hop. Um, some of these problems uh, um, goes back even before hip hop was even thought and mentioned of. All right, these go back to even when blues was around, where prohibition was around. Like none of this stuff ain't new. Some of this stuff is hundreds of years old problem, and now we're gonna blame it on hip hop. That is fucking unfair. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Music can be very influential. All right, and we done talked about that. You know how little girls are singing Pound Town and Ski Yee by Sexy Red, which is a problem. But it's but as far but we've had our share of music. Hell, even I've had listen up to hip hop music that I shouldn't have been listening to, and people talking about, oh, these people out there, they're teaching these people to kid. No, they're not. They're teaching. They're telling you their story, and they have a right to tell you a story. Not and you, as someone that's been in the community, some of these stories do not have happy endings. Some of these stories Your man's dying before they end up 21. A lot of these people they're suffering from depression. Is like a lot of people the same music that people think that people want to be gangsters on the street. It's the same music that kept me out the streets. When Project Pat tell you if you ain't from my hood, get the fuck around here. To me that was a warning. When I tell people all the time, it's just like, yo, what are you doing in hoods that you don't know about? When they tell you, when Easy E tell you the boys in my hood is always you keep talking that trash, you pull your car. That is a lesson. That is a lesson. Like if you are who you say you are, niggas gonna see who you really are. I am from a town where if you gonna claim something, niggas will gonna see about it. So when Akon had that song about locked up and Style Speed was talking about, and I remember this because we had to correct one of our teachers because we was playing locked up, that song by Akon, locked up, you won't let me out, and I remember the teacher was just like, I can't believe y'all listen to this song. It's glorifying jail, and then we all had to look at it. It's like, no, the fuck it don't. We all looked at it. I said, "Do you really listen?" And I looked at it. I said, "Have you really listened to the song?" Because he's telling you not to be in there. He's telling you how terrible jail is. The walls is gray, the clothes is orange. Something. The food is garbage. And then at the end, it was like, "Can't wait to get out and move forward with my life." Situation is like when if you ever listen to Locked Up, the song was really about what it was like being in jail, and it was just like it's really depressing song. People understand that shit. This is you know it, this is why I feel like most old heads hip hops, and they talk about, oh, you're still glorifying the streets. I was like, who are you listening to? because every because majority every rapper that I've listened to when young, they done grown up with stuff. Like Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z went from rapping about selling dope to rapping about financial freedom. Nas is the same way. Jeezy is the same way. I haven't heard his latest album, but I'm pretty sure there's some growth into that. When he did out, if you're gonna say American Gangster was like the soundtrack. So the soundtrack to the movie that Denzel Washington, which, in other words, we don't say the same thing about people who do movies. In the words of Jay-Z, Scarface the actor did more than Scarface the rapper. Do we blame Goodfellas for now people want to be Italian mobs and people want to be gangsters? People want to be in the mafia. People want to talk about the mafia shit. Do we talk about Scarface and like? I'm pretty sure like when Jay-Z said Scarface the rapper, Scarface the actor did more than Scarface the rapper. I'm pretty sure a lot of dudes is like that. Do you know how many people had Scarface posters? Like I used to see it all the time where like people had Scarface posters. They talk about the Goodfellas. They talking about all the Italian gangster movies that used to be popping back then. No one ever. Do you feel like anybody ever gets on them? No, because that's the story that they're telling. There's a fucking movie about Al Capone. You don't hear the Italians bitching. Oh, it's messing up the community. Gives it a bad rap. I'm like, if anything, they fucking embrace that culture. Yes, it is. Like they talk about, yes, that's the mafia. And if you act right, this is what happens. Now, am I glorifying gang culture? No, I'm not glorifying gang culture. But I would just say this. It was an episode of Good Times. And I'm pretty sure people remember it. It's the episode of Good Times when JJ was basically painting Pimp. I think it was Sweet Daddy Williams or something like that. But he was basically had the paintings of Pimp, right? And Florida asked her, the mother, she was like, JJ, why don't you ever paint something like trees and mountains and all that stuff? And JJ said, When we have some around there, I will paint some. In other words, he goes out, that's what he sees. And even then, Good Times was talking about the gangs in Chicago, I think the Vice Lords and some other gang. I can't remember off the top of the head, but anybody remembers Good Times? They talked about this shit. It's just this, like I said, this is hip hop's problem before. Is just before. Our problem is we're not putting people into those environments. All right, I don't want to unless he really, really wants to be an activist and is willing to put his career on the line, which a lot of celebrities aren't. Which is another reason why I don't want to, I don't want to put celebrities on that shit because nobody wants to be an activist because they end up getting shot or you know the people that just want to sit there and entertain, whether you black or white, they don't really like deal with the bullshit that goes with it. Like you may not get another shot in Hollywood, and like that shit could be taken from you. Look what they did with Kevin Hart. So now I don't like. He was like, "Oh, hip hop is not bringing. It's like hip hop isn't putting no hospitals, no banks, or none of that stuff. That's none of the job. But also, let's be real. Like hip hop has made a lot of black people millionaires. That's not front like this genre did not fucking influence the whole world, and it was like as a culture. And now everybody looking at hip hop like it's the coolest thing, which really is. Like this is our culture that we built from the ground up. It should, look. So what? In my opinion, what it was just. I get disappointed every time because it seems like he's putting the blame on. Now, like the easiest thing to talk about, well, the school is built, or what about the school and all that other stuff. I'm not going to do that. But it's just like I don't as plus like I hope I would explain myself where I didn't even need to bring the fact that it's school. And Diddy has the charter schools and LeBron James had the I Promise, you got the Jalen Rose Academy, you got other people if they're passionate in what the fuck they do, they'll do it. As long as you don't. But I feel like it's if they're going to do what Dr. Umar said, the other stuff, it's going to fuck their paper. A lot of people just going to, keep their job, just like anybody else. You get people go, I quit your job. It's just like if I quit my job, are you going to support me? And it's just like no. You just look, and then you're gonna be looking stupid and unemployed. I don't, and like for real, as a black man, I don't want that. Especially if a black man don't work hard to get in that position, I don't want to see him lose it like that. Now, in my opinion, like this, like we need to stop blaming hip hop or hip hop being a scapegoat. Now, that's more than ask for anything, but hip hop has done stuff for people. Because of hip hop, a lot of people have jobs, have people careers, have um, stuff they could say they can do now because of the culture of hip hop. Jay Z being one of them, and I think Ezzy Martinez is another one. Um, yeah, and the assortment of others that can tell you that. So yes, I totally disagree with what Umar said because like you can be bought. Long story short, you can be bought. And that is the bottom line of this argument. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all agree with Umar? Or do y'all agree with what I said? Because majority of the rappers I listen to, they do mature. Just so you know, they really, really, really do mature. And like instead of worrying about what hip hop has done, you should ask them what has hip hop done. And that hip hop has put so many, like hip hop has put so many artists on, and most fashion clothes is on because of the style of hip hop. People emulate the whole thing that hip hop culture is. There's a lot of things, in my opinion, hip hop has done. Now this shit he was talking about right here, yeah, I'm I'm going to watch the rest of it, especially because he's like talking about hip hop is like comparison to white supremacy or some shit like that, and I fucking disagree. I vehemently disagree. But until then, this is all I have to say right now. Um, Let me know how you guys feel about that. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Or do you side with Umar? Do you side with me? Either way is fine. Let me know how y'all feel. Till then, my name is Oskino Fly, and